Hello, 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 hello. Let's invite Kim. Ooh, 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 ooh. There she is. There she is. Hi. Hello.
Hi, how are
I'm good.
you?
Thanks. How are you? We're live. We're doing it. Okay.
Let me give me some lights.
Yeah. You look so cute. There we go. Hi, Ben. Hey, babe. Wave, wave. Hi, baby.
Welcome to Down to Earth with
With Zach
Cosmic
and Kim.
Rebels with second.
Yes, we're doing it. Okay. Hi.
How are you?
I'm good, thanks. How are you?
Great. What
Great.
topic you want to talk about?
So this week we were feeling into it, and a theme around Valentine's Day and like love came up for both of us. And one of the things that really came up for me was like this idea of being available for like real love and how that's very different than people pleasing. Both Kim and I have had experiences where in relationship we kind of people pleased instead of actually loved people, and kind of like we reflected on how it actually blocks real love in your life. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
So what did you experience
Okay.
now that it's Valentine's
So this
week?
Valentine's Day, I found myself subconsciously snooping on social media on someone that I used to be involved with in a situationship, and they have kind of moved on and they're with somebody else, and I had a huge like shame flare, but more specifically like it was shame for even like looking at this, but also like I had jealousy. I had a huge jealousy flare, and one of the things that I was reflecting on was that the jealousy kind of showed me that I wasn't jealous at them. I was just jealous at the post, because the person that they're together now and they posted a Facebook post, and it was very like lovey-dovey and like very classically like ooey gooey, like there was flowers and this like very loving thing there, and I realized that I really wanted that kind of cliche like love behavior in my life, and the fact that this person was giving it to this that I was attached to was giving it to this other person was really triggering for me. But it caused me to like reflect on our interaction together and really like look back at like how I had really overgave, and I didn't have any room in my life to actually receive what I wanted. And I'm still processing it out now. But one of the things I really realized was that I wasn't really present for what I wanted. And when we're not present for things that we want, we don't get them. And it took me having to like, go through a journey, a non-linear journey of like events that didn't seem logical at first to realize that, to really put it together. Because even now, it's funny, like it reminds me how all relationships really are just mirrors of us. Because even though I'm not like in a relationship with this person, my story about this person and my relationship with my story is actually still giving me codes from this person, that kind of reminds me like I really did believe people pleasing was love.
Yeah,
And like, yeah, if you resonate with that.
yeah, definitely. I've been like a huge people pleaser, and it's just that I think if I look on my past,
Mm-hmm.
I always believed that I had to people please in order for others to see me, to hear me, to accept me, and to truly be able to love me. If I was yes and no in order in order of their wishes and what they thought I had to do, had to be, had to say, you know. So I was always scanning my environment, and not only in my relationships, but in general, because, and I did connect it also with my huge father wound that I have. Because I've been abandoned by my father, and not only abandoned, but it was like he never even acknowledged my existence. You know, some kids have like a difficult relationship with their father, but for me it's like there was like no connection. Even I was like jumping in front of his face, like, please look at me, see me, you know, acknowledge me as your daughter. He never even saw me. And I think that is one of the biggest reasons in this life that I became such a people pleaser. Because if I was not good enough of who I was to be seen and to be loved by my own father, then how would anybody else love me, you know, and see me? So I started to scan my environment and check out, like, now I realize what I was doing, but I was like calculating a lot, and it's a manipulation, you know. It's truly manipulating your environment for them to love you and to see you and to hear you. But I was always checking, okay, how do I have to be here? What do I have to say? How do I have to dress? You know, for them to see me and to acknowledge me and to love me. But the more I was doing that, the more that I did not receive exactly that one thing that I was so urging for, you know?
Yeah. You know what the big thing is? It's recognition, because that's the key word there. Because it's like we're so busy trying to get recognized by other people that we don't recognize
And validated.
Right.
And validated. Yeah. And love, because as long as we don't realize that all that we are looking for and all that we want and wish is already within us, we look for it outside. And it's just also something that I realized, that it was me who was not loving myself. And that's why I was so yearning for someone, and then specifically a male figure in my life, to love me, you know, because that would validate for me that I was good enough to be loved.
Wow, I feel that, because I really relate to that too. And it's really funny because, like, when you're not being who you are, like you truly are, you can't receive the gifts of that. And it's funny because I realize, like, even in my attachment to this person, like, my story about this person and how we related wasn't really real. And like all the things I'm feeling, while they do reflect the reality of what I created, they weren't necessarily the truth of what was actually happening. And that's really what I'm processing out. And it's so funny, like Valentine's Day is such a thing. I always try to convince myself every year that I'm fine, like I'm single and like I'm happy. But, and here's the block, there's always a part of me that like gets really jaded about people who are actually happy on Valentine's Day.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's like important. I think it's the first year I finally admitted to myself, like, I did want it. Because for a long time I was ashamed of even having the desire, because I always felt like I was going to be that person who never got it. Which ironically kept me in this vicious loop of like getting screwed over, because if you want it but deny it and then believe you're better than it, it's like you convince yourself that, you know, it's dangerous, and you lie to yourself, right? It's this horrible vicious loop of like, you know, it's not about always getting what you want. It's about the relief we get and the power we get in admitting our truth. And that's something this year I was like, wow, like it's simple, but it's like I wasn't doing it. I was lying to myself, and I felt so disempowered about everything. And, you know, it is funny how simple it is and how it gets so very complicated. But if you're someone who relates to this with this people pleasing stuff, it's like it goes deep. You know, if you're someone who really has a hard time with it, it's very deep.
And it's so layered, because it's not only in with romantic relationships or whatever,
Yeah.
but it bleeds throughout your whole life on every level, you know. And the thing is, when we feel so empty and so disconnected within ourselves, we start to look at the outside world, trying to get whatever it is that we need to fulfill this unmet need, and this to not feel this pain that we have inside. But the more we start to grab it, you know, we want to grab it because we have a feeling like it's so far from us, not realizing it's already within us. So we start grabbing, but the more we are grabbing, the more it wants to run away, you know, because everything is energy and nothing wants to be held and contained and suffocated, you know. So, and for me, when I was reflecting on that and really doing some deep reflection, I started to ask myself, okay, why or what is the reason that I so long for this something that I believe I cannot receive because I'm not good enough? Like, what is going on there, you know? And it brought me on my journey to really reconnect with my own soul, with my own essence, with who I am, and to heal that connection. Because I realized that for me to be good enough had got nothing to do with whoever was loving me or seeing me. It got everything to do with me and my connection with myself, and how do I see myself? Where is the love that I am giving to myself?
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
And then is it truly in a romantic relationship? Because we project it on the person and we think it's all about love, but is it truly got to do with the belief that you love that person, and that's why you want to be with them so much, you know, or you cannot let them go when you broke up or something? But is it truly about that, or is it about something completely different? And I think it can be something different for everybody. It doesn't have to be the same reason for everyone. But for me, I realized, okay, it's just the pain that I feel of being disconnected with myself. And I believe someone else can fill up that gap or can take away that pain, but they can't. The only one who can do that is you.
Wow, it's juicy.
And then I started to realize, okay, if I cannot love myself truly, unconditionally, all aspects and all parts of who I am, of my highest, of my lowest, then how can someone else love me? If I don't know who I am, how can anybody else know who I am? And that's what brought me on my journey to reconnect with myself and to really dig deep in all of those layers that is going on there. I think that's been my biggest journey, because if I look at my life, it exists out of women.
Yeah.
When it comes to it, it exists out of women. Even my cat now is female.
Yes.
Of course, I have a son, and I have fathers of my children. But that male line has been very empty in my life. And it's not so extreme anymore as when I was young, but still.
Mm.
And now
It,
I'm starting to realize also that
yeah.
for me, in order to be completely free from codependency,
Yeah.
my soul choose this experience and this situation with the whole male energy and the male figures in my life to not be codependent, to not relate to them anymore in a codependent way, but to really stand on my own 2 feet first and do it myself so that I don't need a man in my life. If there would be someone, great, because I want it. It's making life so much more nice and lovable and all the good stuff, but I don't need it. And when you don't truly need it, then you can let it go. And from the moment that you can let that go, you are able to receive
Wow.
the best of the best for you.
Yeah.
And that's also a promise I made to myself. I don't want to have a relationship anymore where there is codependency, where there is emotional manipulation, game playing, and all of those things that we do just to be validated, just to be seen and acknowledged and accepted. But we try to achieve that in a toxic
Yeah.
way, in a trauma, in a distorted way.
For me, like I feel like one of the most compassionate things I've been giving to myself is like really witnessing myself, like especially in this story with the person I was talking about, like it was a very short like connection we had together, but like the lack of presence I had in that connection was so deep. And like really what you're doing when you're healing the codependency is you're really going back into these experiences emotionally and really witnessing how unpresent you were and really feeling all the feelings. Like that to me is the most vulnerable part, is like really witnessing and feeling myself in those moments that are like not, they're now at different frequencies, and like you're feeling just how like clingy you were and how like the desperation and the frustration, and really loving that person in the moment and going and really understanding with compassion like yourself in that, like in that experience, because it took a journey for me to really practice loving myself when I would witness. It's funny, I just saw something about taking the red pill or the blue pill, like this idea of like in the Matrix where like you either take the red pill, which is the truth, or the blue pill, which is the false reality, but it's pretty. And like this idea of like when I would take the red pill and spirit would give me the red pill and these healing experiences to wake up, it was like I didn't have, at first I didn't love myself through the experiences, so I would judge myself, which makes it
Yeah,
longer. But realizing that like you're actually being shown the truth because you're ready to be given a chance to love more of yourself in this experience and actually calibrate to what was actually happening, which may not be what you thought was happening, but was there, is like really humbling, and it's scary. Like especially when you're a people pleaser who like literally you don't know who you are without anybody else around you. That can be really like, it's scary. Like it can be really scary to like feel that. And we get that. We
because
both get
you're
it. We
really
we get it. Like, oh.
you're really getting confronted with yourself and with your pain and your
Mm-hmm.
trauma that you have around that. But actually, what do we do when we people please and we are so living in a codependent relationship, specifically in romantic relationships? Is
Mm-hmm.
first of all, we give our power away and we say like, okay, this person is the one who is going to make me happy in my life. This person is the one who can make me feel good about myself. But that, if you think about it, that is like, whoa, I am giving all of my power. So I am saying to this person, like, okay, you can make me feel bad, you can make me feel good, so it's up to you. And then also believing, as long as the relationship is good, like nothing can touch you. What are you gonna do if this person is falling away?
Yeah.
What I was saying to myself, okay, if this person is going to die, or I don't know, moving to another country, or then what? I'm gonna fall back down again.
Yeah.
What it that's not a life to live. And then to realize, okay, so I need to find that love again within myself, because it's there, but it's so blocked, and so much stuff is on top of it. We are so disconnected from it that we don't feel it anymore. But yeah, it's been quite a journey for me as well. It took me most of my adult life so far.
Mm, I hear
And
that.
I reached the point that I can say now that I am standing on my own 2 feet, no matter what, no matter who, because I really start to feel and to see and to know who I am.
Yeah.
And to stop also putting other people on a pedestal and putting yourself down.
It's good. Yeah.
Because there is nobody who can give you love if you don't already are connected with it inside of you.
Yeah.
And if you are connected with it inside of you, then it doesn't matter what anybody else is doing or saying. You will always be connected with that love that we are looking for so much. And we don't let it depend on somebody else anymore,
Right.
or something else anymore.
It takes a lot of courage, because basically we're conditioned subconsciously not to associate like authentic love as being sexy. Like we're actually taught to associate like the drama, the Romeo and Juliet suicide as that with like it to be sex, that tension's supposed to be sexy. But ironically, those stories and the love archetypes that we're taught to like adopt subconsciously, they're not structural tension, they're just tension, right? And they don't go they literally don't go anywhere. And it takes a lot of
Yeah.
courage to practice the love that is like true, because like usually you're the only one doing it in your life. So when you're going through a transformational experience and you're on your own for a bit to get back in touch with your own frequency, like you kind of have to be okay with all the frequency tones, all the feeling tones of your life. And the pain is, it can be really deep. But what's great is that no pain is without purpose, and they're all connected.
Mm-hmm.
So the beautiful thing about transformation, like Kim said, is once you finally feel yourself all the way through that deep, that low point, there's nowhere to go but back up. That's how energy works. And then you can handle more, and you're smarter, you're more wiser, because you lived through an experience the hard way. So therefore, you know all the signs when it's time to stop before it gets too hard. And your capacity for love increases so much more, because you know, you can feel in your cells what love actually is and what it isn't. And that's so powerful. Like we talk about like being a cosmic rebel and like how this ties in the bigger picture. It's like, if you're someone who resonates with going through a really hard time romantically, or with any type of relationship, really, and it's really, you're in the dirt with it, it's like, you know, you're actually you're birthing something. You're birthing a new reality where you can love even more. Because even like these love dynamics that go into family stuff too, like with parents and, you know, family narratives. I know for me, like healing the people pleasing has been really difficult in my family because it's been so ingrained. But ironically, it's also compassionate, because it's like you start realizing like people have been doing it because they don't know any other way to do it. And it's been repeated.
Of course, because we are, most of us who are living on the planet are disconnected from ourselves.
Yeah.
And what I wanted to say, it's also we are so programmed, for example, this princess archetype, you know, that we see in the movies and the video games. It's everywhere, actually. You know, the princess archetype, that we need to be saved, and that somebody else is going to save you and fix everything for you and give you a good feeling about you and your life. And what it is that we have to realize is, okay, we always can go both ways. Okay, am I going victim, or am I going to learn the lesson and shift this and become more empowered again? So it's truly to see, like, okay, I am people pleasing here. I have been codependent on my outside world or people. What I have to do, this is showing me that there is a gap within myself and the love that I have for myself. So let's go back there.
Yeah.
And start digging and diving and unraveling. And you know, what I also find, it was a little bit hard in the beginning, because you start to do that inner work and dive into your own shadow. You try to reconnect with the unconditional love, but you're not gonna feel it directly, you know?
Yeah.
And it was not only to, let me just reconnect with my love again, but I had to heal a lot of stuff first. I had to scoop away all of those layers.
For the
And it's like
sunlight
an
to hit the
onion.
ground, it was like you had to really clean out some clutter.
Yeah. And it's like an onion, and then this piece, and then this piece, and then these pieces are all pieces that you think like it's got nothing to do with each other, but in the end, you see it's so connected.
Yeah.
But when you don't give up, slowly, I started to truly feel this vibration of unconditional love, which I believe most of the people on the planet don't even know. We think we know love, but we don't know what truly unconditional love is and feels like.
What a powerful symbol the sun is, because the sun's not intrusive. Like, a lot of times people pleasing is very intrusive, and people that allow you to please them, they're actually also very codependent too. But ironically, when you're a people pleaser, you're building this, like, you're actually, you know, you're not really, it's not an authentic give and take. So there's no room for you to receive. And the person taking from you is actually just using up the energy unconsciously, and it's going nowhere. I think it's so,
yes. That's the funny thing about the whole story. Like, we want so much for someone else to love us and to see us, so we get validated and we feel better about ourselves, because that's the thing. Why we want it so much is because we don't feel good about ourselves.
Yeah.
But if you look at the people walking on the planet nowadays, most of us are traumatized and in pain and hurting, and with so much egoic deficiencies and these unmet needs that we are all trying to find in our outside world. So what are we expecting? That another person who is also disconnected from his own essence and his own feeling of that unconditional love, that he is going to be able to give that to us? No, it's impossible.
It also reminds me too, like, how, like, with the sun, it's like the sun, it gives generously, but it doesn't really intrude. If you barricade the sun out, the sun's not going to fight the clutter, right? It's like this,
it doesn't ask anything back.
Yeah, it just made me think about it, because, like, you know, beings and organic life on the planet that's able to really receive the sun's, like, infinite abundance, they're always giving back to their environment. It's this idea that they're open to receive, and that sunlight can be transformed and alchemized to be able to nourish the rest of the planet. When you're constantly in that energy of desperation, it's very intrusive. I had a story last week about this person I drove by on the road who was begging, and they were by they had a sign, they were coming up to the car, and it's ironic because when you really look at the tactic of that kind of tactic, it's like it's not really giving that person an opening to like give you any money. It's almost like getting mugged like on the highway. And it's like it makes me think, like you said, like a lot of times we're giving and giving and giving, thinking it's one thing, it's about a person or a thing or an idea, but really we're just looking for our own love, our own presence. And it could be so much more simple. And like this Valentine's Day for me, as we wrap it up, I feel like it's like this idea in the new earth, like as we kind of, transcend and evolve, it's rebellious to make authentic room to like receive from others, and not to overdo it, to do what's just needed, and not to do things because we think we have to, or out of obligation. It's like to really give and take, and give people the room to be inspired to give, because people who often are takers they're usually being intruded upon so often that they don't even have the room to consider giving anything. And that's kind of like the full circle for people who are like like us, who are givers and never get anything in return. The people who take from us, they don't realize, like, I don't have anything to give back, because they've never been allowed the room, or even said they need the room. Like please don't give me that because it's too much. I have no room to give back to you, right? Because if people were like that and they said, listen, that's too much, please don't, that would be right. We often don't do that. And that's nothing, boundaries, right? It's like, having boundaries with yourself, if you're an overgiver, to say, is this really giving from a place of love, or am I giving for an outcome? Because it can be very subtle.
Yeah.
Right.
And I also, now that you say, like, am I an overgiver? I believe when we give, not in a way that we try to manipulate and get something back, but we give truly from within our hearts. And as we know, we are connected to source, and source is abundant, so that is enough for everybody, and even more. If we can give in that way, with that intention, I don't believe we can overgive anything. You know what I mean?
True.
But when we start to give with with a deeper underlying intention of hoping, wishing, wanting to receive something back, and that doesn't come, then it's like we are giving our life force energy, and it also means we are not truly connected with our own source completely yet. If I make sense what I'm saying, because I'm going through it when I say it now.
Yeah. It's like if you're full, you can't give. It's this idea of like, if you don't have your own connection to source, you really are not giving at all. You're playing this lose-lose fear game of
and you are a vessel. Yes. And you are a vessel, and it's moving through you, and and anybody who needs it, consciously or unconsciously, and is open to receive it, can receive as much as he or she wants or needs, but it's not going to affect our level of how much we have to give or can give. And we are also not wanting anything back from that person, even if we know it or we don't,
It's a different feeling, for sure. Like you said, like we can't really overgive if we're truly in alignment with our source, because like we'll always be in alignment and integrity with our giving and taking. So there's no deficit, really. Mind, body, and spirit, you're always in integrity. Because how many times are we like totally lying to ourselves? We're like overgiving or taking out of bounds, right? It's like we're not really being honest about how it feels, because when we're taking in that, it's sticky. It's like when you're giving and taking out a lack and suffering, it's like it's kind of slimy. It's not clean. It doesn't feel clean,
Yeah.
you know.
And it goes both ways, you
Both
know.
ways. Wow. Yeah, that does. Yeah, makes sense.
It's like,
I feel so much better because like it was hard to look at the situation in this relationship because I'm still grieving it. It's taken me a long time to grieve it, but I feel like this conversation's part.
but
What?
what is it that you are grieving?
Yeah, that was it. Today I realized like I wasn't grieving this person and I wasn't grieving the relationship. I was grieving that I was really grieving myself because I was grieving that I did all those things and I really dragged myself through the mud because I blamed him a lot for things, but like he didn't do anything to me. I was the one who agreed to go there. And at the end, when I got ghosted, I got ghosted at the end. Like I was so shocked, but like what else was he gonna do? Like I had overgiven so much. I was
because,
like,
because as long as you are vibrating at the frequency of the lack, and then specifically in the romantic relationship of receiving love, we attract exactly the person who is resonating with that frequency and that vibration, and he is just on the other side of the coin, you know.
right.
So you are here the victim of not receiving love, which what you want so much, and we try to get it in such a distorted way, so we attract somebody who is resonating with your lack, and it's going nice in the beginning, and then the whole story starts to show up, you know. And it's like these mechanisms that we set in place and they start to work, and it's like a communicating barrel. You know what I mean? So we only attract the people who is willing to play the game with us, the game of lack, the game of scarcity, the game of anger, aggression, victim, perpetrator, whatever.
Right.
So of course he ghosted you, because then that part in you could say like, you see, they are all the same, and la la la, the story goes on in your head.
I was so like ungrounded. By the time I got ghosted, he was just mirroring back to me how unpresent I was for myself. Like literally left and put a barrier up so I couldn't chase. And I was like, really put me in a place where I had to get present. And compassionately, you know, there are some things in this life we all have to learn the hard way. We chose those things. And, you know, you just in your heart, you know, if you resonate with that, like there are things you learn the hard way, keep in mind those are some of your greatest gifts because you lived them. Like you lived every sensation, everything. You understand that story down to the cellular level. Like the wisdom that you heal from that, it's like magic. So you can really like give yourself a pat in the back and go, thank you for making that really messy mistake, because now that I cleaned it up, like I can clean up, like very transform and quantum leap, and because you lived it, and that's really valuable, and I can love myself in that.
And the best part of it is when we truly heal from that, and we make our own connection strong again, loving ourselves so deeply, unconditionally, then we start to radiate something completely different. And then the people that we will attract, or even the people from our past who would ghost us, they would never even think about it anymore to ghost you. It's like they don't even know why. But you know, when I was young, one time there was this guy, and he really said it to me like, whoa, you are this girl. When you look at her, it's like, wow, but don't touch, stay away. And I was like, whoa. because I didn't even know that I was like giving out a vibration like that, you know.
Yeah.
And it was it was at night. I was in a club, you know.
Wow.
So you really don't find any guys like that in a club. And I don't think that he knew what he was saying, but that's what I mean from the moment that, because back then I was still more strong in my own channel. I was still lacking a lot of stuff, but I mean, I was like in romantic relationships, I was like firm back then. Before the shit happened. But
he gave you a gift. Yeah.
Yeah. And I think, yeah, when you are strong within your own channel, the people around you would not even dare to mistreat you, because unconsciously they already feel something, and it's like, oh no, we're not gonna go there, you know.
Yeah.
This is a person that you cannot play with, and they respect that, but consciously they don't even know why, you know.
Yeah, true love is unfuckwithable. If you're really in true love, it sounds crazy, but when waves come at you, they bend. You're like Neo. They can't, if you're centered and people aren't centered, those waves just, they miss you. People literally will not frequency match with you if they're not really in love. Like literally in love with you. Like if they're not in love, they deflect themselves. Like in my story, like I was so desperate for this person's love that like I was trying to grab, but really I was like, trying to, and like, why are you leaving me? And it's like, where are you going? Like,
don't leave me, because I left myself already. You cannot leave me. No, but it's true, and the true love, what we are talking about, is only coming from within.
Yeah.
It's not coming from someone else. The other ones are just responding to what they unconsciously are getting from you, or like feeling the vibe, you know, the frequency that we are sending out. And that is when everything changes.
Wow.
So if you are with somebody and you were like vibing on this frequency of lack with love here now, because that is our topic, but you start to strengthen your own connection and reconnect with your own essence more and more, but the other person is not, what happens is you cannot stay together,
right?
Because this person still needs to heal a lot on that subject.
Yeah.
So he needs to go and find someone else where he can play that game again with, until that they learn the lesson and start to reconnect and love themselves first.
Yeah.
Because when the frequencies are not in resonance.
Yeah, because frequencies are places. When we talk about frequency, like it's a place you frequent. It's like we're constantly moving, and if you're not meeting at the same place, like you don't, like you're not. It's like being on a highway, and like one person's frequency is very fast, so they're going in the fast lane, and but you're doing the slow lane. You're in 60, and they fly by you. You're on the same road, but one of you's at a higher frequency, so they're getting to the destination faster. Right. Eventually, someone might merge onto the fast lane with you, and they might catch up. But if they don't, it's okay, because you'll be in a place where someone else on the highway might go, yo, like, hey.
Yeah.
And one Valentine's Day, you might have someone who finally meets you, and that is your actual Valentine, you know?
Yeah.
Right.
And you know, it's how you can also notice it. Oh, for example, let's put my camera away, because I was gonna say something important. For example, you are feeling so good about yourself, and in general your life is going great, you have a good day, so you're vibing high, right?
Yeah.
and you meet someone, a friend, or doesn't matter, he's feeling shit, but
Yeah.
nobody wants to be alone with his shit.
Mm.
So what do? Unconsciously, we try to pull the other one down. So we're gonna say stuff, do stuff, whatever, doesn't matter. We will find a way to bring the other person down so that he is falling down until he meets your level where you are at vibing at that moment. And then you can vibe together on that low vibe. So the other one doesn't feel so alone anymore with his own shit. So if he can make you feel bad as well, then he doesn't feel so hurt by his own pain. And that you see so much in relationships, romantic relationships as well.
And that ties into people pleasing too, because when we're pleasing people, sometimes we subconsciously try to meet people where they're at instead of staying at our vibrational standard. Because ironically, you're still entitled to have your perspective of the world and the amount of energy you want to feel, and still allow someone to want to be at a low place. And ironically,
Yep.
when you're someone who stays in your home frequency and you don't meet people, you don't lead yourself to go meet people, either they're going to raise their frequency naturally they're going to mirror you eventually, and they're going to find their own home frequency, or they'll have to leave. They basically will push themselves out of your life. I've seen it happen. It sounds like so magical, but like when you're in integrity, people got to mirror it or they got to go. And they can't explain why. They just like, right?
Yeah. But it definitely is something to be alert of. Because we do it so much, it's like a normal thing. Everybody does it, so we don't even see it happening. But when we can notice it, when a person is trying to pull you down, you can center yourself, you can make your connections stronger, stay in your center, and like you say, or they have to meet you where you are at, or they have to leave.
Yeah. Because sometimes too, like what ends up happening is it's not about being narcissistic and saying like, you do what I want or you leave. It's like literally if you stay in integrity and lovingly just keep the vibe here, like people will make their own choices. It's not about like punishing someone for not being high vibe. Like if they don't want to shift their frequency and they're attached to their sadness, like they might need more time to deal with it, and they'll leave you. They'll leave the resonance to go deal with it. And that's really important too, because some of us, I often felt like, oh, well, I'd feel bad. And actually pity's not love either. It's like, that's not
of course not. That's the thing. It's not okay either to try to pull somebody else down, and as a people pleaser, we start to feel bad and we think like, oh, let me go down so he doesn't feel so bad anymore. But what is that doing any good for the both of us, Then we're gonna stay in the mud, crying, feeling bad. And no, the only way we can truly help someone is to stay in our own frequency and be an example. Be an example in that as well.
You can disagree and still love someone. You can disagree and it still be love. Sometimes we have such a narrative around love. Like sometimes the most loving things that will ever happen to you look like disasters at first glance, but you'll look in a different frequency of your life and go, thank God that happened to me. Thank God that happened. It's like you see the wisdom in some of the craziest things that happen to you and you're like, oh my God, thank you. And Valentine's Day this year was definitely one of those times where I was like, you know what? Everything's perfect. Even the pain was perfect, even though at the time it didn't make sense. Now it does. And
it's showing you as well where you are at with your own love for yourself and probably other stuff, but so yeah, if we can be grateful for whatever is shown to us and we know where to look,
Yeah.
then yeah, that is the way home, you know?
And that's the empowerment, right? As we wrap up, it's like, you can't please people. It's actually their job to please themselves. And naturally what happens when we're all responsible for our own pleasure, like everything organizes perfectly. And people can show up to actually meet you and to mirror back your own desires. And you know, you don't have to overdo it all the time, because there's no overdoing it, because we're all perfectly in that place. But it does, as we're moving through the structural tension of our current times right now, at the time of this transmission, staying in your home frequency and keeping your standard, if that means you have to say no to people, is necessary, or letting people go who want to leave. Right? It's like, you need to keep, it's up to you to be in integrity. And that's it's not sexy. It's not a sexy narrative in the culture right now to be in integrity. It's not considered hot. So it is hot eventually, but in a world of fear, if most of your life is fear, being in integrity is not the sexy thing to do. So be aware that, like, you're a pioneer, right? If you're doing this, you'll get it later, but yeah.
Exactly.
Thank you.
Wow.
We did great.
I think it's this topic is so, yeah, we said it last time about the money thing as well, but this is so one of the first things, and maybe the most important thing, of where we give our power away and how we can take it back. It starts with self-love. Because when we have that in place, so much of all the other bullshit falls away, because it cannot even exist anymore in your reality.
Yeah.
Wow. Great.
Thank you for watching, you guys. Whoever's watching right now. Thank you, Ben, for being here.
On the replay.
Thank you, Ben. Thank you, Kim, for doing this with me. I'm so grateful to be on this call. I move so much energy when I'm on these calls, and I'm so grateful.
Me too. Me too. I love it. And especially for whoever is going to watch this one and has a similar story, or is struggling or dealing with not being able to receive love or whatever, please let us know. We are here to support.
Yeah.
Or any.
Love you, boys. Yes. We love you.
Yeah. This was it. I think it's a good one to wrap it up.
Yeah. So thank you guys for watching. We'll be on next week with a new topic. And we love you so much. And thanks for sharing space with us. Thank you, Kim. And thanks to Kim. Thanks to us. Bye, guys.
Bye.